Welcome to Stream Sprouts Creation, a Dabble in Science. My name is Siobhan Pawelczyk and I am the Stream Coordinator for the Diocese of Buffalo. This training video will go over all the important parts and tips and tricks used in the classroom to teach Creation, a Dabble in Science. This Stream Academy was originally written by Terry Strassel and Emily Roseberry, and it was rewritten and updated by me, Siobhan Pawelczyk. I hope you enjoy. Have fun. So before we start, I'd like you to all take a look at your Stream Academy binder, Stream Sprouts Creation, a Dabble in Science. The inside page, you will see Elevate Education with Stream Academy, a bit of a description about why we teach using the Stream principles, and also an introduction to the Academy written by the original authors. They invite you to explore and embrace the ideas and make them your own, and I do also. In this Academy, students will learn about the story of creation in the first book of the Bible. Stream subjects and simple scientific experiments will be used to explore God's creations. I have simple pictures here of the days of creation. You'll also find this graphic in your PowerPoint presentation. One of the main things I want to draw your attention to in this binder is the supply list. And before you even start to teach this Stream Academy, I would encourage you to fill a bin with the things needed for this academy. This includes Play-Doh. I have used individual 3-ounce cans of Play-Doh, construction paper, Cheerios, cardboard blocks. You can use those little building blocks in your classroom or any building blocks that you have in your classroom. Food coloring, gummy worms, creation felt story pieces, oatmeal, sunflower seeds, Velcro dots, marshmallows, pipettes, eyedroppers, shaving foam, Ziploc bags, tongs, cotton balls, sheet protectors, plastic spoons, an inflatable globe, paper plates, tweezers, buttons, foil trays, 3-ounce Dixie cups, some print paper, clear 16-ounce cups. Any of these items can be found at your local dollar store, probably in your classroom, and any of the other items will be freely available on Amazon.com. We also require basic classroom supplies to finish this academy, such as crayons, scissors, glue sticks, and paint. And something that's not provided that you may have in your classroom or find in the science lab is a bowl or a vase, which we'll need later. So for the overall preparation for this academy, I would encourage you to make a free account at www.getepic.com. You will absolutely love this resource. It's a free library of online books that you can assign to your students, read for your students, have read to your students, etc. So I would encourage you to make an account there and also start collecting used magazines. We've gone through the supply list and the overall preparation. Next page in your binder is the session overview, and it tells you all the different sessions that are in this academy. And session 9 and 10 is supplemental experiments and investigations, which can be used to enhance this academy. And also appendix contains all the principles you may need for this academy. So each session is set up in the same way. We have the session title and the objective and the materials you will need for this session. So our objective is, what does it mean to create something? This is a hard concept for children, especially the young children we'll be teaching this academy to. And then we learn about the story of creation at the beginning of the Bible. So the materials for this are the Play-Doh, cardboard blocks, creation felt story pieces, and Velcro dots. So I've said the creation felt story pieces. You can buy something just like this on Amazon and cut out the pieces to indicate the story of creation. You can also print pictures from the internet. I've chosen the creation felt story pieces for durability for the purposes of this academy. And the Velcro dots are to use to stick the felt story pieces onto the cardboard blocks. So my opening activity for the first session is to give each student a small tub of Play-Doh and then ask each student to model their favourite animal using Play-Doh. This is a hard thing for the kids to do, but it's great for their fine motor skills and things like that, and their imagination. So during this time, you can gather the items that you need for the creation blocks, such as cardboard blocks and the felt story pieces. And these will be used after the reading of the story of creation. As I said, there's an accompanying PowerPoint presentation, and this has the links to these videos on the PowerPoint presentation. So there's a short video of about 4 minutes, which is aimed at teaching children about creation. So the main activity for this session is to read the child-friendly version of the creation from Genesis to the students. I have used the version from the Catholic Children's Bible, and that's what I've copied and put into this binder. You are welcome to use any creation story that you have. I just found that this one was a really nice one to use for students. So if you have a copy of this in your classroom, you can read it from here and show the students the pictures that accompany the story. So as you read the story of creation, ask the students to tell you what they understand by the things God created each day. Point out to the students that they just created their favourite animal with Play-Doh, which wasn't an easy thing to do. And then ask them to imagine all the work that God had to do to create all the things that we see around us. It's an important concept of this academy that we get the students to grow and learn and appreciate the beauty of all the things God created and not just take them for granted. So that is one of the overall arching themes of this academy. So during the reading or after the readings, you can have the students help you assemble the creation blocks and put the creation blocks in the correct order. And again, restate the things God created. So once the students have put them in the correct order, you could then add numbers to your blocks so that they see the sequential order of the things that God created. But again, you can make that activity your own. And feel free to print those pictures off the internet or purchase some of these felt pieces. They're very nice and durable. So here is the story of creation in your binder. For the roundup for this week, I would encourage you to take the students outside and look out the window, outside or look out the window, and ask the students to tell you about the things that they can see that God created. I think this is a great opportunity to do some outside teaching and maybe ask the kids to collect some things that they know God has created. The homework for students is to ask the students to bring in old magazines and a photo of themselves for the final week project. And I encourage you to remind them to do this every week. And that's at the end of every session. So session 2 is Let There Be Light. And at the beginning of the subsequent sessions, I put in the pertinent part of the reading from Genesis to emphasize this part of creation. So in the beginning, when God created the universe, the earth was formless and desolate. The raging ocean that covered everything was engulfed in total darkness, and the Spirit of God was moving over the water. Then God commanded, "Let there be light," and light appeared. God was pleased with what he saw. He separated the light from the darkness, and he named the light day and the darkness night. Evening passed and morning came. That was the first day. So the objective of this session is to ask and answer questions about the sun and its characteristics. And the hands-on learning that we do in this session is to make a sun print. So the materials you will need are sun print paper, a clear plastic sheet protector, scissors, a tub of water, and construction paper. So I have purchased this super sun print kit from Amazon. It's under $20 and you get 15 sheets of paper, which can easily be cut up in half or in quarters. And this kit actually comes with your clear acrylic sheet, which you can use multiple times. It's a great kit, and the fact that it comes with the acrylic sheet protector will make your prints even nicer. And the instructions are on the back of the envelope as well with how to do the sun print. You need to expose the paper under the acrylic sheet to sunlight, And then when you bring it in, you need to rinse the paper in a tub of water for about a minute. So that's what the water is for. So again, open the PowerPoint on the smartboard and watch the PBS video about sun prints to get the students excited about making these sun prints. So to lead a discussion about the sun, ask the students if they know what is the center of our solar system, and use some of the books or videos on Get Epic listed below. So there's a few books here on Get Epic that are freely available, and also videos and sun songs, different things to get the students excited about the sun. And then for the sun print activity, have the students gather flat objects like leaves, sticks, flowers, or flat toys. So this is a great opportunity to get the students outside and gather things from nature to make a wonderful print on their sun print paper. You can use the sun print paper inside as well if you put it on a window ledge that might be sunny part of the day. It takes about between 3 and 5 minutes for the paper to react to the sun. I just think it's a great experiment to show the students a little chemical reaction in the paper that's brought on by the sun. At the end of session 1, I've also included a how does it work section to explain a little bit about how the sun print paper works. And also, there are other activities at the end of session 1. You can also do the sun prints with construction paper. You've all seen construction paper fade if it's left in the window for too long. So you can also do this with putting items on some dark coloured construction paper and expose the paper to sun or a light source for 2 to 3 hours. And you can also extend this activity by testing sunscreens on sheet protectors and lay them over your construction paper or your sun print paper. So session 3, let there be sky and seas. The objective is in this session is to learn about the water cycle. This part of Genesis says, "Then God commanded, let there be a dome to divide the water and to keep it in separate places. And it was done. So God made a dome, and it separated the water under it from the water above it. He named the dome Sky. Evening passed and morning came. That was the second day." So I thought this would be a great opportunity to learn about the water cycle and to also learn about different types of clouds. So for this, you will need construction paper, shaving foam, food colouring, 5-ounce cups, clear 16-ounce cups. I think I actually said 3-ounce cups you can use for this as well. Pipettes, eyedroppers, cotton balls, a large glass beaker or a fish bowl or a vase. So the pipettes are available on Amazon. You can get lots of them. They're about 10 centimeters long. You can get them in different sizes. It doesn't need to be an exact measurement for the purposes of this academy, so you can get those or raid your science lab at school. So again, you can open your PowerPoint to session 3 on the smartboard. And the first part of the discussion is, what are clouds made from? So we're going to discuss the question with the students and then show them the video, what are clouds made from? And this is linked in the PowerPoint presentation. There's also another video called The Science of Clouds, and I've put the link on there, the YouTube link, and you can end this video at about 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So I've put that tip in there. After that, it gets into too much detail. Our kids are quite young, but I think these videos are really good and can explain about clouds better than we can even explain about clouds. And the kids love the graphics that they see in videos and learn so well through videos. So suggested book titles and songs are also included. You can get these resources again at getepic.com. The National Geographic Kids has a great website to talk about the water cycle as well. So after the videos, you can ask the students if they remember the different types of forms of water that are available, that they get that information from the video. So if they are struggling with this, write solid, liquid and gas on the smartboard or the chalkboard and ask them if they know when water is a solid or a liquid or a gas, and if they can name them. Snow, ice, steam, and things like that. That's what we're looking for. So there's a great visual here that I took from the National Geographic website that depicts the water cycle. So if you put this up on the smartboard in your classroom, you can talk about the terms that were used in the videos, such as evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. So the following graphic on the next page is to help with labeling or for drawing a simple water cycle picture on the chalkboard if no smartboard is available. So here is a very, very simple example of how you would annotate that first graphic. So the sun causes the condensation. The clouds, when the water falls from the clouds, it's called precipitation. And sorry, the sun causes the evaporation from the water. And then in the air it's called condensation. And then when it falls from the clouds, it's precipitation. So when the sun, and then there's a discussion below it, just a scripted discussion to talk about the different parts of the water cycle with the students. So I've included 2 projects in this session. Every student should do project 1, and project 2 can be a demonstration, but it is simple enough for each student to do on their own. So project 1 is a picture of a cloud forms on the smartboard, and you can have laminated example sheets on the desks. So just to point out that there are different types of clouds that we see in the sky, take them outside. Again, this great opportunity to take the students outside and to actually look up in the sky and see if there are any different types of clouds. The project then entails the students having a sheet of construction paper, and I would like them to label the construction paper with low, middle, and high. You can either provide labels with low, middle, and high written on them or typed on them, so the students can label their paper, so they're getting that indication that they know where the low clouds are, the middle clouds, and the high clouds are in the sky. And then they get to choose whether they use white paint, puffy paint, grey paint, cotton balls to make their clouds. They can choose which clouds to make in the low, middle, and high sections. And it's a really fun project to see the different types of clouds that the children come up with. So I would print a full-size copy of the kind of clouds picture that you see there on page 21 and laminate it for the students so that they can have it on their desks in front of them, or again, project it on the smartboard in your classroom. So project 2 for this session is to make the clouds rain a rainbow. This is very, very fun to do. So you take a large vase or a glass fish bowl and fill it 3/4 full with water. You can also do this individually using 16-ounce cups, 3/4 full with water, and then you squirt shaving foam on the top to look like fluffy clouds. In 4 small cups of water, drop numerous drops of food colouring. So you've got red, yellow, blue, and green. I think they're the normal colours that come in a food colouring packet. And then ask the students to use pipettes to drop some of the coloured fluid onto the shaving foam. And the students can then watch as that rain, the coloured rain, falls through the clouds, and they can see it moving around in the water underneath. It's just a fun experiment to indicate the precipitation that happens from the clouds. At the end of this session, remind the students to bring in old magazines and a photo of themselves for the final week project. As we move on to session 4, Let There Be Land and Sea, we again read the pertinent part of the Genesis story. Then God commanded, "Let the water below the sky come together in one place so that the land will appear." And it was done. He named the land earth, and the water which had come together he named sea. And God was pleased with what he saw. Then he commanded, "Let the earth produce all kinds of plants, those that bear grain and those that bear fruit." And it was done. So the earth produced all kinds of plants, and God was pleased with what he saw. Evening passed and morning came. That was the 3rd day. So the objective of this session is to learn about how plants grow. Learn about the parts of the seed, learn what all living things need to grow, and observe seeds germinating. So you will need for this session white beans, kidney beans, paper plates, Ziploc bags, hand lens, and paper towel. So a day or two before the class takes place, take a handful of each type of seed that you find. You can use various different kinds of seeds, and soak them in water in a beaker or a cup. The seeds are much easier to break apart when they are wet, so they can see the seed coat, they can see the inside of the seed, and they can see the baby flower inside the seed. So that's why we need them soaked for a couple of days beforehand. So that's your prep for this part of the academy. So again, I have some suggested book titles and songs which you can find on getepic.com. So first of all, open the Read to Me book from Seed to Plant by Gail Gibbons. This is a really, really nice book. As the book is being read to the students, stop at intervals and ask the following questions. Have you ever seen a seed? Did you realize there are all different shapes and sizes? Can you disperse seeds? What do the seeds need to grow? What do the seeds need to grow into a plant? So then you can open up the PowerPoint and show the video, what's inside a bean. This is a SciShow video. I love the SciShow Kids videos. They are really, really wonderful. They really grab the students' attention and explain everything very succinctly and raise questions for the kids. They really listen to these SciShow Kids videos. So that's what's inside a bead. Then you can have them do the observations of investigating some seeds. Sort the students into groups of 2. Right now, during social distancing, they can do this on their own at their desks. Each student needs a paper plate, a variety of seeds, and a hand lens. I am sure your science lab at school has many, many hand lenses available to pass out to the students so they can have one each. Show the students how to break apart the seed and look for the baby plant inside. They're blown away by this activity because the baby plant is really well formed inside the seed. Then they can watch the video. How does a seed become a plant? It's another SciShow video. It's a really, really informative video. So the next activity is more of an observational activity that can be done over the week of the experiment. Or the academy. So fold a paper towel so that it will fit inside a Ziploc bag. Place the paper towel in the bag and wet the paper towel. It's easier to wet the paper towel after it's inside the bag, obviously, because it's just easier to get into the bag when it's dry. Place 2 to 3 beans inside the bag on the paper towel. You could use the big white kidney beans to make it a bit more obvious for the students to see everything in there. You can place the beans in different directions to show that the root always grows down. Seal the bag and tape it or hang it in front of a window and observe the changes over the following week. This is a great experiment to do with this age of students. They really are fascinated by seeing these seeds germinate. That's the end of session 4. And remind the students again to bring in the old magazines and a photo of themselves for the final week project. Session 5, this is all about Let There Be the Sun, the Moon and the Stars. It's a really, really wonderful opportunity to talk about the solar system with our youngest students. So that's the objective of this session, to learn about the solar system, understand that the Earth rotates and revolves, and understand why the stars appear to move. The materials required for this are an inflatable globe. You can use an actual globe in your classroom if you have one. It's a perfect opportunity to get that globe out and show the students the Earth in a globe form. You need yellow construction paper and white construction paper. So before the class starts, inflate your globe. Cut a large yellow circle from the construction paper and label it the sun. Cut a smaller circle from the white paper and label it the moon, and print the planet labels worksheets on page 30 to 31. So the activity, that's the prep. So the discussion This week, we need to ask the students the following questions. You may find out that they have lots of ideas about our solar system. You may even have a child that is absolutely really, really good at naming the planets and things like that. Really feed them this information and get this information out of them. It's a really great opportunity to see what our students do know. So, what do we see in the sky during the day? Why is it different at night? What makes the moon come out at night? It's really fun to hear their discussions on this. So, open your PowerPoint presentation, and there's a link there to the Planet Song for Kids that you can find at Get Epic. Actually, the link isn't on the PowerPoint presentation because you'll need to log in to Get Epic yourself to link to the Planet Song. I think that video is also available on YouTube. Watch the video Earth's Rotation and Revolution as well. Again, these videos can explain more succinctly than we can about these phenomena that we're trying to teach our students, and they really hook the kids and get them to listen. So for the activity, I'd like you to do a demonstration very similar to the one that you've seen in the video. So ask two students to stand up and give one the inflated globe and one the sun. Make some room in the classroom and have the sun stand in the middle of a circle, and ask the students with the globe to walk in a slow circle around the sun. The student with the globe should hold the globe still so that the USA is always pointing at the sun. How long will it take for the Earth to revolve around the sun? It's a question to ask the students, and they should have some idea of it after listening to the video. We want the answer 365 days. Point out that something isn't correct with our model, as it's not always sunny in the United States. Part 3, have the students brainstorm and discuss what is wrong with our model. See if they can come up with some ideas about the Earth rotating on its axis while it is revolving around the sun. They should get some hints again from the videos. Pick 2 new students to demonstrate our new model. Have the sun stand still as the student holding the globe slowly walks around the sun. Have them also turn the globe in their hands. How long does it take the Earth to rotate on its axis? Point out that the Earth rotates. As the Earth rotates, it changes from day to night on Earth. Repeat this activity with some of the other students. Using the planet labels provided, have 7 more students join the students holding the globe and tell the students that we are just one planet in our solar system, and the only one that we know of that can support life. Some are too hot and some are too cold, but we are just right. Ask the students to stand in the order of the planets from the sun. Spread out down a hallway if you can to bring the activity outside to emphasize just how large our solar system is. These are fun activities to really get the kids to think about our solar system and the part the Earth plays in our solar system, and how we are so dependent on the sun for everything that we do on our Earth. Again, I have some suggested book titles to go along with learning about the solar system that you can find on Get Epic, and an extra video, Where Did the Moon Come From? Page 30 and 31 are the planet pictures to be used in the activity. You can use these or find other planet pictures that you may have in your classroom. I think you can get some planets from the dollar store teaching section. Look around, I'm sure you have opportunities to find things like that. Session 6, let there be creatures in the sky and sea. Then God commanded, let the water be filled with many kinds of living things, and let the air be filled with birds. God created the great sea monsters, all kinds of creatures that live in the water, and all kinds of birds. And God was pleased with what he saw. He blessed them all and told the creatures that live in the water to reproduce to fill the sea, and he told the birds to increase in number. Evening passed and morning came. That was the 5th day. So the inspiration for the activities around this session is actually something that students do in living environment in 8th grade or 9th grade for the regents. and it's looking at different bird beaks. So in this session, the objectives are that students will identify that God made all living creatures. Students will compare and contrast different types of bird beak tools. Students will predict which beak tool will be most effective at picking up each food item. Students will experiment with the beak tools to determine which beak tool is most effective at picking up each food item, and students will record their results. Again, great tools that we were giving the students of how to observe, predict, make decisions, and record results. These are all things we want them to be doing in academies and in various different subjects that they are learning in school. This is a great way to teach them to do that. So you need lots and lots of materials for this session. We need tongs, plastic spoons, scissors, tweezers, eyedroppers and pipettes, food dye, marshmallows, Cheerios, gummy worms, sunflower seeds, oatmeal, foil trays, plastic cups, recording sheet, that's in the appendix, crayons and pencils. So have the students retell the creation story and review how God made all living creatures, including birds. Ask them what special ways did God make birds? They are unique in that they can fly. And what unique things does a bird have to help them live? Their bird beaks are very, very different. And that birds are very, very diverse when you get to thinking about what they look like all over the globe. Have students use the think, pair, share method to share their answers. So if the teacher says think, students first think of their answer in their head. The teacher says pair, they pair up with a friend and explain their answer and why they think it is correct. And then the teacher says share, and students finally share their answer with the whole group. This, in times of social distancing, is probably a little bit harder to do in the pair section, but I think we can, probably make it work in the classroom. Steer the conversation that the students are having towards the bird's beak and how they are so different. And how does a bird eat if it doesn't have hands or knives and forks? What special tools did God give birds to help them eat? So you can go to the following website, which is linked in the PowerPoint presentation, buzzle.com, and you can look at the different types of bird beaks that are commonly seen. Discuss how each bird's beak is a useful tool to help the bird eat what they specifically eat. Ask the students questions to help them compare and contrast the different beaks. And why wouldn't it be helpful for a hummingbird to have a beak like a hawk? Why do birds that eat seeds have beaks that are pointed? All great questions. There's also a great activity in Mystery Science that shows videos of different types of birds eating and why they have different type beaks also. So this could really relate to your science in your classroom also. In preparation, and please be aware of any food allergies in your classroom before beginning activities and just eliminate those items that may be a problem. So to prepare for the lesson, add oatmeal to each of your foil trays and one type of bird food. 4 different containers. It doesn't need to be foil trays. The open size of the foil trays makes it a lot easier for the students to get their hands into the trays. So instead of using a beaker, which is closed, if you open it, if you had a wider open container, it's just easier for the kids to get their hands manipulating the items that are in the containers. So in one, have marshmallows and oatmeal. Another one, Cheerios and oatmeal. Another one, gummy worms and oatmeal. Another one, birdseed and oatmeal. And for the nectar, add red food dye to several cups of water. On 5 separate tables, place one of the containers with food and one of each different type of bird beak. For the table with nectar, you may want to add several cups to avoid spilling. Next to each beak should be a plastic bowl or cup to transfer the food into. For younger students, each table should have a corresponding recording sheet, and they're available in the appendix for you to print, and crayons or pencils for recording. Older students may record their own results. Break the class down into 5 groups and have each group start at a different table. If your class is bigger than 25 students, you may want to set up additional sections so that each group is no bigger than 5. You can watch the video then, Bird Beaks, What Do Birds Eat? It's a great video that will show the kids different types of ways that birds eat, and it's great for them to observe the different types of beaks and the different foods that the birds eat. Again, I have the suggested book titles and songs that you can show to the students to increase their understanding of this, the importance of the bird beak to how they eat. So for this practical application, hands-on application of this, the 5 different bird beaks that we will be using in our classroom are tongs, plastic spoons, scissors, eyedroppers, and tweezers to represent the different types of beaks that birds have. Before we start, ask the students how the items are similar to bird beaks. Which bird may have a beak similar to a scissors or an eyedropper? Does it look similar to a beak that was shown on the website? What things might this beak be good at eating? Great discussion questions to really get the students thinking about this. Then show the students the type of food they will be trying to collect with the beaks. Explain that each item represents a food that different birds eat. So marshmallows represent the meat or fish that a bird would eat. The red dyed water represents the nectar that birds such as hummingbirds will drink. Cheerios represent small bugs. Gummy worms obviously represent worms. And sunflower seeds are the seeds that the birds eat. And we see them eating out of bird feeders every day and naturally where they find them. Explain that the purpose of this experiment is to see which type of beak is best for picking up each of the different items. Students will have to attempt to transfer the food item out of the bin and into the cup with each of the different types of beaks. Students will have 30 seconds with each beak. Students can only touch the food with their tool, no hands are allowed, and they should also try to transfer as little oatmeal as possible. Each child will start with a beak. Remind them that they have 30 seconds to transfer as much food as they can into their cup. The cup should not be dumped back into the bin until each child in that group has had a turn. Students should be aware that the cup that corresponds to each beak needs to be kept separately. Students will then trade and try with the new beak and continue this process until each child has used each of the different types of beaks. During this time of social distancing, I would suggest that each student uses just one type of beak and then they compare the numbers. It's so hard to share items, or this can be also done as a demonstration for the whole class. So once all the beaks have been tested, have students look at each of the different cups and discuss which tool they think was best in collecting that food item. As a group, they must decide which tool was best. On the recording sheet, they can then add a tally mark under the corresponding picture. After each group has recorded their answer, they can then dump the cups with the food back into the bin and rotate to a different table. Continue this until each of the groups has been to each of the different tables and recorded their answer. It's a great hands-on activity, and each of the students really gets to grips with the different types of beaks, pretend beaks, that we are showing them. It may be beneficial to have them try the different tools and see how they work prior to starting the experiment. Students then meet back to talk about the results and discuss the results and record which beak was the most effective in eating each of the different food items. You need to get the students to explain why each beak worked better than another. Go back to the Student Bird Beak website, buzzle.com, and compare and contrast a final time by checking what type of food each bird eats and if their beak is similar to the pretend beak tool that was used for that food. It really gets them to go through the whole process of their ideas, how things worked, and then to look back at the real bird. So again, at the end of this session, remind the students to bring in old magazines and a photo of themselves for the final week project. Session 7 goes on to let there be animals on the land. Genesis story talks about God producing all kinds of animal life, domestic and wild, large and small. He will make humans, they will just be like us and resemble us. They will have power over the fish, the birds, and all animals, domestic and wild, large and small. So God created human beings, making them like himself. He created them male and female, blessed them and said, have many children so your descendants will live all over the earth and bring it under their control. I'm putting you in charge of the fish, the birds, and all the wild animals. I've provided all kinds of grain and all kinds of fruit for you to eat. But for all the wild animals and for all the birds, I've provided grass and leafy plants for food. And it was done. God looked at everything he'd made and was very pleased. Evening passed and morning came, and that was the 6th day. So this is all about the animals on the land. And an experiment that I've done many, many times with my students is looking at living and non-living things and a classification of living things. So for the objectives for this session, they're going to learn about living and non-living things, learn about the classification of living things, learn to put groups of items into various groups and explain the reasoning behind their classification and understand what classify means. So I've suggested you buy some buttons like this. You can get a big bag of buttons for about $7 on Amazon. You can buy various different types of buttons and really mix them up together, or raid your grandma's button bin. I did that when I first started doing this in the classroom with my students. Some other items you can use for this are counting frogs, dice, lacing buttons in the classroom, animals, pencils, erasers. I raided my children's toy boxes and brought in cars and little people that I had in my toy box in the basement. My children were very disheartened when they walked into the classroom and saw all their toys all over the tables. I've even brought in Duplo, different things to really get the students to understand about classifying different things. So in the days prior to the session, gather the group of supplies that the students can classify into groups. And I say there about the children's toy boxes. But these are a great tool. And also you can buy these types of things on Amazon quite inexpensively, various different little animal pieces for them to classify. So play the video, It's Alive, Biology for Kids, to get them to understand the difference between the living and non-living things. So some questions to ask are, is this desk alive? Are you alive? How do we classify a living thing? So we classify a living thing by them needing energy or food to grow and change, and they reproduce and they respond to the environment around them. So that's what a living thing does. So, and then another question is, how do scientists decide what groups to put things in? How could we classify the people in this room? So I often ask the students to all stand up and make observations and ask for suggestions from them. Lead the students towards putting themselves in groups of boys and girls, or colour of eyes, or colour of hair, or wearing glasses or not, or wearing sneakers or shoes, just so they get a feel for doing this. It's great to have them stand up. In this time of social distancing, this again would be a great activity to do outside. They can pick out the living and non-living things that they see outside, but also they'll have the space to move around outside and get into the different groups that you want to classify them into. So then you pose the question, if I were to give you a random assortment of items, did you think that you could help me classify them? This is a great lead into the sorting activity that is part of this session. So I've also, again, got some suggested book titles and songs that you can show to the students about this subject. So the sorting activity, I've done this various different ways, and this is only one way that it can be done. So pick the largest table in the room, or push a couple of the tables together. Ask the students to stand around the table and not touch anything on the table until given instructions. Tell them you are now going to put items that need classifying into groups onto the table, and they need to work together to separate everything into groups. Direct the students to classify the items into the most obvious groups. For example, all the Duplo together, all the buttons together, all the cars together, all the trucks together. When this activity is done, pair the students as separate tables for the second part. So this is the second part. This is the classification activity. So then give each pair of students a group of items such as the Duplo or the cars or the buttons from the sorting activity. If you do not have enough items for a separate group for each pair, then split the sorted items randomly. So if you have 50 buttons, give 25 to each group, or if you have 50 cars, give 50 to 25 to two separate groups. Then ask the students to classify their items on their desk into 2 or more groups. They need to work together collaboratively to come up with reasons why they have classified the items in such a way. As you walk around the classroom to observe the students, once they've split the items into 2 good groups, ask them if they can further classify the items into other groups or into smaller groups. If they need help, you can prompt them as to the many other ways they can classify items, such as the colour, number of dots on the Duplo or dice, number of sides of shapes, number of holes in the button. So you can buy these packets of buttons. Some have 2 holes, some have 4 holes, some buttons only have 1 hole. There's various different ways. I had a group of students classify buttons into pretty and non-pretty, which really tickled me. I thought that was very, very funny. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I loved that that was their reasoning behind it. I also had students separate a group of animals into their biomes, which was amazing, into their ecosystems rather. So that was really something that I was amazed by. These students really, can fly with this activity, and it's really, really fun. So once they've had a go with one group of items, swap the items around the classroom and see what other groups the other students classify the objects into. Really is a fun activity, and can be done multiple times, various different ways. In this time of social distancing, we may not be able to share items successfully, but you can always split the items up ahead of time and give them to individual students and ask them to classify them. Look around your classroom, speak to the kindergarten teacher if she has any items that you can borrow. Again, raid your children's toy box if you had kids. Great activity and very, very fun to hear the groups that they come up with. So again, remind your students to bring in old magazines and a photo of themselves for the final week project. If you're worried about the kids bringing a photo of themselves, they may not have one. Previously on some of the other weeks, maybe you could take a photo and get them developed in preparation for session 8. So session 8, God saw all that he had made. And so the whole universe was completed. By the 7th day, God finished what he had been doing and stopped working. He blessed the 7th day and set it apart as a special day. By that day, he had completed his creation and stopped working, and that is how the universe was created. So for this session, I would like the students to create a personal collage with the student photo and various items God has created, found in the various different magazines that you've been collecting over the past 7 or 8 weeks. So the materials the students need are magazines, a photo of the student, and general classroom supplies. I like the large construction paper to do this on. It gives them lots of space to really, really investigate and put lots and lots of items down that God has created. You'll also need scissors and a glue stick or a bottle of glue. Sorry. So that session is really self-explanatory. It really is a time to go outside, take the kids outside, have them gather items that can go on the collage, cut out pictures. The first time I did this, it was really during the winter and there wasn't much outside to collect. But the things that the students found in the magazines really blew me away, of all the different things that God had created. So you can do it just through the magazines if you have a good enough variety. But I would encourage you to go and get some leaves outside, different things, and really make a huge collage. This to me is the thing that should be displayed from this session on your walls outside your classroom. I really think that the students have great ownership of their understanding of creation, and they put it in this collage. It's a really wonderful project to see them produce. So that really is the end of the Academy. Session 9 and 10 are some great extension examples to continue to explore God's creations. The materials, obviously, for these activities are not included. There's really great listings here for bird watching, making bird feeders, making bird houses, a birdseed sensory table, build a nest activity, nest snacks, art, make a nature journal, tree rubbings, and things like that. So lots and lots of different activities that you can add on to this academy. There are also opportunities with our stream partners to have virtual field trips that would really tie in with God's creation, looking at Rhinestone Woods, Tiff Nature Preserve, and places like that. So look out for those ideas as well, from your stream coordinator or through your school. So this is the appendix. These are some of the sheets that need photocopying for use in class, and they can be found on the final pages in your binder. So there's the common types of clouds in the troposphere, and the low and the middle and the high clouds that you can see. This is the page that I suggest you laminate and let the children have on their desk when they are making their clouds construction paper with either white paint, puffy paint, grey paint, or cotton balls. These are the planet printouts you can use. And the final pages are the recording sheets for the bird beak tools experiment that the students do. I'm going to take a few minutes now to go over the PowerPoint presentation with you so that you can see all the items that you need are also available on your PowerPoint presentation. Feel free to edit this PowerPoint presentation if you need to add things for your specific classroom, add instructions for social distancing, anything like that. So this is your tool to be used in the classroom to help you conduct this Stream Academy. It includes everything. You may find you may not need some of the slides, but feel free to edit it. So we have the title page. We have the lovely graphic of all the different pictures of the things that God created on the various days of creation. Then we have a session overview. Then we have the objectives of session 1 and the things that we are going to do with our Play-Doh on session 1 and the creation blocks. Excuse me. That we organize the blocks into the right order and read the story of creation so the students become very, very comfortable with this first book of the Bible, Genesis, and the story of creation. I have a link then to the video, creation video for children. It's about 4 minutes long. And I think on all the videos, I've put how long it is, so it really helps you plan your sessions. I've also put the hint of what to bring for next week at the end of all the sessions, so that you can continually remind the students to make sure they bring in these items for that week 8 session where they make the collage. Again, at the beginning of the sessions, I've also put the verses that are pertinent to those sessions so that when you read it out each week to the students, that they become more and more familiar with the story of creation. Session 2, Let There Be Light, the objectives. Ask and answer the questions about the sun and its characteristics and make a sun print. The link to the PBS video about the sun prints. Other resources for this session are on the next slide. Get Epic, and there's also a link to an art blog about sun prints. And again, the hint for what to bring in for the final week session. Session 3, there's the verse from Genesis, or the verses from Genesis that relate to this session. Let there be sky and seas. The graphics are all available. So if you have a smart board or a TV that you can write on, you can use this graphic to annotate and use the precipitation, condensation, and evaporation words that we want to get our young students comfortable with when they talk about the water cycle. The link is also on that slide to the clouds videos that I indicated in the binder. Here is a great picture to show the students when they are making and preparing their picture of clouds and how to put the labels on their construction paper for the high, middle, and low, and which clouds they can put in those sections. There's the picture of the laminated sheet that I encourage you to give to the students when they prepare their pictures of their clouds. Other resources are also linked at the end of that slide. There, Get Epic, water cycle, and different types of clouds. Session 4, Let There Be Land and Sea. There again is the verses from Genesis, which are important for this session. The objectives for this session are learn about how plants grow, learn about parts of the seed, learn what all living things need to grow, observe seeds germinating. In this time of social distancing, if you cannot do the seeds germinating experiment, there are great videos on YouTube to show the students germinating seeds. There are time-lapse videos, which are really fun. They get big wows in the classroom. So this is the book I indicated to read on getepic.com, From Seed to Plant by Gail Gibbons. Feel free if you have something similar in your classroom. I just really thought this was a great resource to use in the classroom, and it's a read aloud book. This is the SciShow Kids video, What's Inside a Bean, and this is the experiment that the students are going to do for this session. Don't forget to soak those seeds or beans for a couple of days beforehand so that they're easily opened by the students. This is another SciShow video, How Does a Seed Become a Plant? These videos really are wonderful. I would invite you to explore more of the SciShow videos to be used in your science classes also. Session 5, Let There Be the Sun, the Moon, and the Stars. So this is the session about the solar system, and again, there's the verses from Genesis that are important for this session. So the students are going to learn about the solar system, understand that the Earth rotates and revolves, and understand why the stars appear to move. The Planet Song for Kids is available at Get Epic. I think it's also available on YouTube. I would choose Get Epic for the videos because you're not going to have those crazy adverts that start at the beginning of the YouTube videos. And then also watch Earth's Rotation and Revolution video. An additional resource is Where Did the Moon Come From? Session 6, again, I have the verses of Genesis, and then all the objectives about the bird beak tools. The next slide, there is the link to the website to look at the different types of bird beaks, and then the videos about what do birds eat, bird feeding adaptations, and a Disney short called Birds on a Wire, which is a fun way to close the class when we are doing this experiment. Let There Be Animals on the Land is session 7, and again there's the verse. I really encourage you each week to read out these verses that are pertinent to the session and maybe look at the creation blocks again and see how far along you've come in the story of creation week by week. So this one is all about learning about living and non-living things and classification of items in the classroom. Again, the slides just follow the questions and the objectives laid out in the binder, and keep reminding you to hit these points when you're talking to the students. Instead of having to refer back to the binder all the time, you can be walking around the classroom and looking at the slides projected in the classroom. And session 8, God saw all that he had made. This is the session where we make the collage and stop and think about all the things that are amazing and wonderful around us that God created in the universe. These are some great collage ideas that I found on the internet. I sadly didn't take pictures of the collages my students made a few years ago when they did this academy, but they were really, really fun pictures. And that's the end of the slideshow. I would encourage you to try and get your students outside as much as possible while doing this academy, because it really helps to be outside to really learn about God's creation and the creation of the wonderful things all around us. Really have fun with this, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is spowelzik@buffalodiocese.org, and I would love to answer any questions that you have. Enjoy doing this with your students, and I would love to see pictures of your creations. Thank you. Bye-bye.